to look at a certain, look at past players like the PMK, like the DMDK, like the TMC, the Tamil Maanila Congress, and see the impact that can potentially have on this electoral battlefield. So let's just take a look at what happens if Vijay has a vote share to seat share conversion ratio like the PMK, which is about 1.4x. If every 1% of votes leads to 1.4% when it comes to a conversion into seats. So this now is an attempt to decode Vijay's impact. If he picks up about 5% of the votes, now this is from Amitabh Tiwari, his assessment is that he could pick up about 7 seats. At about 10% of the votes, Amitabh Tiwari estimates he could pick up about 14 seats. At 15% of the votes, at 21 seats, 20% of the votes, 28 seats, 25%, 35. This is if he acts like PMK. If his conversion ratio is like the PMK, then this is what the seat share tally could look like. If, however, his conversion ratio is like Vijay Kant's DMDK, which is about 1.8x, average vote to seat is 1.8x. If that's the case, then let me show you what it could look like in the second scenario. At the DMDK level of conversion, at 5%, he ends up at about 20 seats. 10% vote share, he ends up at 39 seats. 15% at, with DMDK at 5%, he ends up at 9 seats. 10%, he ends up at 18 seats. 15% vote share, he ends up at about 27 seats. 20% vote share, he ends up at about 36 seats. 25% vote share, he ends up at 45 seats. So this is if TVK of Vijay acts a bit like the DMDK, and then what the conversion looks like. Let's now go to the TMC, Tamil Maanila Congress, and take a look at what happens. There the concentration was very high, 3.9x. Here, 5% of the vote share leads to 20 seats, 10% leads to 39, 15% leads to 59, and so on. So let me get Amitabh Tiwari to explain these three scenarios and which one. So is he more likely to be like Vijay Kant? Is he likely to be like the Tamil Maanila Congress? Which of these past debutants do you think he's most likely to mirror? Amitabh Tiwari.
Actually, we are talking about the fact that how much Vijay will get as vote share. The second obvious question is, where does he get this vote share from? So if we assume that he gets 8% vote share across the seats, then of course he will not be in a position to win any seat. But we've seen in the past that parties like DMDK, PMK or the Tamil Maanila Congress have got anywhere between 20 to 25, 30 seats basis the 8% vote share. That happens largely because of the fact that these votes are concentrated in certain regions or certain pockets. So let's say we were describing about the voter profile of Vijay, urban, 18 to 24 women. So if these votes, this 8 to 10 to 12, whatever he gets, is concentrated in urban areas, which is KTCC, Coimbatore, Salem, Madurai, etc., then even at 8% vote share, he can convert that vote share into certain seats. And that is what the history shows. PMK has concentration of vote share in the north.
No, but you're right. But not necessarily, because unlike a caste-based party which comes from certain parts, whether it's the coastal or the northern or the southern part of Tamil Nadu, TVK, because he's a star, he doesn't have any one caste just aligning with him, unlike some of the other parties. I think Veera Raghav is itching to get a word in. Veera?
Very, very quickly, Rahul, the PMK, none of these parties won seats when they contested alone. They had to contest on the base of a DMK and then add their caste vote to it. The PMK was a crucial force that shifted sides in the between 2000 and 2010, and they were able to determine the result because they brought the incremental vote, the importance of an alliance, because you see the DMK and the ADMK are at 33 and 37%. So to get first past the post, any party needs to have that flat base upon which that they build. So caste votes are always an incremental to the base Dravidian vote that has resulted in seat conversions for these parties. When the PMK stands alone with the NDA, they've turned out a cropper.
And therein lies the irony for GVL Narasimha Rao's NDA formation, because they tried very hard, and the fact is, GVL, if Vijay had allied with the ADMK and the BJP, you would have dealt the DMK a knockout blow. You tried to make that happen, but just couldn't bring it together. So the point that Veera makes is important. By himself, he can at best be irrelevant or marginally relevant. If he was with you, it would have changed the dynamics of this election.
Rahul, there was never any attempt by the NDA to get Vijay on board. I think it was all propaganda. There is absolutely no truth to it. It has been stated several times on record. So nobody of any stature in the BJP or NDA spoke to him for an alliance. Point number one. Point number two, he is actually outside the NDA, he will prove to be a much greater asset to us. I think whether he gets 5% or 15% or 18%, I think he will certainly, the bigger the vote share for TVK, the bigger will be the mandate for the NDA. Take it from me. We will discuss it on the...
The thing about GVL Narasimha Rao is he very quickly changes between his political cap and his numbers cap and can answer a question wearing both caps at the same time. So that makes it a little tricky to have him on the show. But Amitabh Tiwari, do you agree with that? The argument GVL is making is that he hurts the DMK more. From what I can gather and from the little that we've travelled and what we picked up from the ground, that's not necessarily the case. It's not as one-sided as GVL would want our viewers to believe.
No, if you go by the social profile of the voter, which is urban, youth and minority plus SC, the larger damage is likely to happen to DMK. Of course, he is also weaning away a section of the women vote of the ADMK. But I believe the larger damage is likely to be of...
You're saying larger damage to the DMK? Pradeep Gupta, do you agree with that?
Yes and no. Actually, on a lighter...
Yes and no kya hota hai? Yes hota hai ya no hota hai? Yes and no kya hota hai?
I'm coming to that, Rahul, because there are two demography beyond the community, the Dalit and Christian, which is the youth and women. Youth and women is the common factor in the caste as well. So you need to see that. That's the first point. On a lighter note, one very important fact I would like to put forward, because GVL is here, where Palani Swami himself is contesting of AIDMK, which is the Idapati seat. That is the only seat where TVK is not contesting, or their form got cancelled, their candidate form got cancelled. So on a lighter note, I want to put forward, they are even hoping something can happen even the post-poll.
Interesting point. You're making the point that in case the DMK is short, the ADMK in a position to be able to form the government, that they can be a post-poll alliance. I want to get Praveen Chakravarti to respond to that and GVL's argument that his assessment is he hurts your alliance in his current avatar much more than he hurts the ADMK alliance.
No, I'm afraid I will have to counter my friend GVL Narasimha Rao, because the only party that is officially on record in the Tamil media or in the local media is our two past presidents of the Tamil Nadu BJP, Mr. Annamalai and Ms. Tamilisai Soundararajan, who have categorically made a call and said on record, we wish Mr. Vijay joins our alliance. This is on record. Two past presidents of the Tamil Nadu BJP. So clearly, everybody acknowledges that he's a political force. And B, BJP is the only party that actually put it on record inviting him. No other party is actually officially on record inviting him.
Disagree.
Okay, this will very quickly degenerate. I think it must be said, and I said this will be without bias, just the numbers. The BJP did behind the scenes try quite hard to make it happen. The BJP was quite keen on making this happen, but because the ADMK wasn't willing to part with the number of seats that TVK wanted, it came a cropper. So the BJP was quite keen. It's the ADMK which is trying to and I can get Veera Raghav to talk a bit about it. GVL denies any overtures, but the more time we spend here, the lesser time I get to spend on the C voter data, which is where I want to spend more time. But Veera, very quickly.
Very quickly, I think the problem was about Chief Minister's face. Who's going to be the leader? Vijay has to be the leader. Edapadi did not want to let go of it. And I think there was a genuine effort. There was a serious effort that was made by all sides. The Congress also was in talks, let's not forget.
Only some elements of the Congress.
Everyone has realized the importance of the TVK, including Stalin. No, not just some elements, Rahul. I think every side, including the DMK today, which will not concede it, has realized that TVK is a factor on the ground, which is why Stalin ensured that he got the DMDK and the Congress both on his board and created that big an alliance. Didn't want to leave anything to chance.
Okay, I now want to come to the third part of this. I said this is not about just a political back and forth between the BJP and the Congress and the alliances. We want to focus on the data. So this is now the third set of data that we're putting out. This is from Yashwant Deshmukh and his team at C-Voter. This gives you a sense of their current tracker data, and then we'll simulate how the vote share can move depending on whether Vijay gains popularity or loses popularity. So at the baseline, and Yashwant can explain his data, the C-Voter opinion poll for Tamil Nadu says that the DMK at this moment is picking up about 41% of the vote share. The ADMK is picking up about 38% of the vote share. So it's a 3% gap. Remember, the last elections had a 6% gap. So the gap in any case is coming down, which makes things interesting. Your current projection is for the TVK at 14% vote share and the others at 7%. So just explain your numbers in the way they stand. So you're projecting in any case a closer contest than the last election, and you're saying that the TVK is 14%, which is your estimate in your last tracker.
Yeah. First of all, Rahul, this tracker number is of the last week of March, because after that election commission embargo came into place. So that's where we stopped. So we are just re-emphasizing those numbers which you have shown. You see, one thing is very critical to understand. You know, my good friend GVL played Dharmaraj Yudhishthir, saying Ashwathama Hatohata Narova Kunjarova. So that's the half part of it. When he said that TVK is getting the DMK votes, he is bang on correct. You know, that is absolutely correct. TVK is getting the DMK votes, but it is hurting the AIA DMK the most.
Do you think it hurts the ADMK?
Because in absence of TVK, those anti-incumbent votes would have swung to AIA DMK and given them a huge lead over DMK any given day if the TVK would not have been there. So this is why I am saying, and Jay was absolutely right in saying, as was your colleague, that all these parties, whenever they played a multiplier effect by joining one or the second alliance, they came up with huge results in terms of seat conversion. Otherwise, they simply ended up as a flop show by ensuring that one or the other party loses because of them rather than wins because of them. So TVK show will gain a serious implication only and only if they actually cross 20% votes on their own. Then only some serious seat conversion thing will place. Otherwise, if he is only eyeing a post-Jayalalitha ADMK space in Tamil Nadu politics, then his entire game plan would be aiming at taking away the anti-incumbent vote from the DMK, be a parking lot for them, and let ADMK lose so much that at some point of time in future he becomes the default opposition in front of the DMK.
So actually C-Voter simulates that. Let's take a look at that simulation. So if the TVK voting percentage goes from 14 to 19, it is a 5% gain during this campaign, then the DMK's vote share is at 40, the ADMK is 34, the TVK is 19%. Because we don't do any polls, we're not converting this into seats, but what's very obvious is with a 6% gap, with the TVK now at 19, the DMK's lead becomes bigger, it becomes a more comfortable election. Last time it was 48 versus 38, 41 versus 38, now it's 40 versus 34. So a clearer lead for the DMK if the TVK picks up. That's the point that Yashwant Deshmukh was making. If, however, in the next scenario, the TVK loses 5%. So if it comes down to 9 from 14, then it's a dead heat. Then it's 41 versus 41. A dead heat between the DMK and the ADMK, if you run that simulation, Yashwant, on your numbers.
Yes, absolutely. And this is why I'm saying that the what TVK is doing or what TVK is gaining is absolutely big time anti-incumbent vote, DMK votes, swinging away from the DMK, but it's like a pendulum where it is being thrown from one side, and instead of going to the other end, it is being struck right in the middle by the TVK. And if that is happening, and if it goes further down, suppose if the voters of these anti-incumbent votes say that, okay, you know, I would like Vijay to become the CM and I would like him to win seat, but right now it doesn't seem that he is helping us, and if he goes down further, down by 5%, then it will be a ADMK clear-cut lead, because there is anti-incumbency on the ground, there is problem on the ground, and while the TVK numbers, I mean the traction is there, but that traction needs a lot more than just
very
stardom.
important point you make, and I want to put that to Jay. The fact that you've got some mobilization in terms of people saying they're interested, but ultimate political mobilization is the ability of a party to get voters out on polling day, and that is untested when it comes to Vijay. Jay, because you don't know the percentage of people who will actually come out, their ability to bring voters out on. One is you have an intent to vote, the other is you actually go out and vote. That's where party structures and machineries come into play. Jay?
Well, see, historically too in Tamil Nadu, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well.
Yeah, historically too in Tamil Nadu, the newcomer players have been very cautious. So in fact, Rajnikant always had his Rajnikant fans club, the Mandarams, there for him. But he was very cautious. He never converted to a party. Kamal Hassan had his own fan club, ended up with 3% peak, did not grow further, now supports the DMK. I think, Vijay, I was reading an article in Tamil day before yesterday. Somebody translated it for me, where he said, look, I need to be in air-conditioned rooms for a while. I get tired. Therefore, I can't do rallies every day. I mean, this is a rough translation. I don't know what it was verbatim. But it did not give an indication of somebody who could actually enthuse a booth-level worker. If
Okay, sure, that's an important point you make.